Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Welcome. My name is Katie Gideon, and I am dialing in from Edinburgh, Scotland. I will be the on-camera facilitator, and you will see my amazing co-facilitator, Maya, in the chat. It has been a Katie Maya weekend. And if you come back this afternoon for the monthly setup, Maya will be in this seat and I will be in the chat. But we've enjoyed spending our weekends with each and every one of you, especially because one, it's a new month, two, it's a new week, and one of Maya's magical moments with the Monday starting with the first of the month. So it's a pretty fun little exciting kind of magical enchanting moment as we leave the theme of August and enchanting behind and move into September. So I am already seeing each and every one of you, a lot of our returning socialers. It is so good to see you in the chat. It becomes just that like warm, happy, cozy greeting that absolutely I would continue to devote time on the weekends just so I can check in with all of you because I feel very much invested, especially if you come to these events on a regular basis. We are the best group of accountability buddies that you can have and that you can find. And then if you are new to this event, you can participate in these socials as much or as little as you want, especially in the chat. Just double check that if you want to share with the larger Silk and Sonder fam that it is set to everyone. Hosts and panelists comes just to myself and Maya, and we are always happy to field questions there. But we just want to make that gentle reminder because Zoom will kind of default back and forth between the two. And we want to make sure that you're getting the full experience that you're expecting. And so if there's anybody new, you can let us know in the chat. Because if you are new to these events or you've only started recently been coming to them, they can be a little bit of a sensory overload. And so a lot of it's just going to depend on what you want to work on. Maybe you want to be in the chat involved and you've already kind of made some headway on your journal. Maybe you are really just ready to kind of buckle down and work on your journal. Ah, great. We have a new person. Oh, welcome. We are glad that you're here. And so it can be a lot, but I definitely recommend if you want to work on your journal, also have, if you're on your computer, get ready to take some of those screen grabs for inspiration, but you are in excellent hands with our amazing Sonder fam in the chat. Same thing if you're on your phone, get ready to do those screen grabs for inspiration or sticky notes as well. There is no right or wrong way to participate in these. We are just excited that you've come exactly as you are and set aside this time to get your week set up. But as always, please be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. Respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. We do ask to limit repetitive product and accessory questions, but as the picture on the left says, beautiful things are meant to be enjoyed. Use your stickers. We do like to talk about products. We like to talk about all the apps. We do share kind of TV, book, recommendations, all those wonderful things. So please feel free to continue to do so, but we just ask that the main purpose here is to set up our pages, but we love to have those conversations because you guys provide the best recommendations. And as always, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. You're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. You should not walk away from this feeling a little bit more down or kind of a little bit more down on the dumps than when you showed up. If not, then I haven't done my job appropriately. But you can definitely set aside some of those mental barriers, emotional barriers, or same thing with if you've had a great day. We want to hear that you've had a great day. If you have had a not so great day, then we also want to hear that as well because we want to be able to support and help everybody as we go through it. So we are glad that you've come exactly as you are. So, with that being said, we are going to enter into our new month, which means a new theme. And I do think this is a great transition from the kind of magical and kind of fluffier theme of enchantment into one that has definitely a little bit more of a bite to it. I feel like we had our resting moment and we had our refresh moment. But now we're in that kind of action theme, and I love a good action theme, especially after I've had a nice little break. So I am ready to go head first into bravery. And I think, again, I'm in my kind of still fantastical fantastical fantasy storytelling vibe. So to me, it just makes sense as well in that. And I feel like you'll see that, especially in some of the mind map questions, that kind of a little bit more of like a hero's journey approach to things. And I know it is something that is going to take a little bit time. Amy, I appreciate that acknowledgement. But some people are finding it quite appropriate, and others, I know it does take a little bit to get into. And I do think it's one of those things I struggle with how I embrace the concept of bravery, just because I have been told I have done brave things, but it doesn't quite register as much. So I think it's more of that connection that we need to see. And that's where I found this quote that I think is a great reminder that courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes courage is the little voice at the end of the day that says, I'll try again tomorrow. And I don't know what it is about this quote, but it does get me choked up because I do think that's the reminder that I always need. Is I assume that the bravery are all of the big iconic visuals that you get, that you see, that you feel, that you read about. But really and truly, so much of it is just the little things of doing the things that you are afraid of, that you're uncomfortable with, that you don't think you're going to be good at. So I think it ties directly into that mental and emotional preparation required for some of these things. And that's the confidence, the self-esteem, all of those scary critic words that you keep in the back of your mind. And so I do think we need to continue to give ourselves kind of these gentle reminders because I still am slightly overwhelmed by the gravity of this idea of bravery. So I appreciate all the conversations in the chat as we're going there. I think it is something that is going to be really special. And by the end of it, we're going to have really, really nice insights into all of the different facets that come with bravery. So we're going to work on that bravery mind map. We're going to do our rosebud thorn, depending on if you're going to be in your August journal or your September journal. Don't worry, we'll include all those pages as we go. And then we have those weekly setup pages, which again is why you're here. So starting with our bravery mind map, this is not uh, printed in your journal. Stuck between published and printed. Not printed in your journal. This is something that you can kind of create. You can add a little bit creativity, a little bit of your own kind of thoughts, feelings, and emotions into it. But essentially, we are going to find a blank spot in our journal. Some people will use the last page. I tend to gravitate to the first blank page. Or you can find spot on the scratch pads, which can be used there. I definitely recommend finding kind of maybe a slightly bigger spot than you usually do, just because we have some kind of what I would consider big, full mind map prompts. And so we are going to explore different aspects of bravery through our writing. And so, as we said in that first quote, bravery isn't always a loud roar. Sometimes it's that quiet whisper, an inner compass guiding us through life's challenges. And it's the courage to be vulnerable, to embrace the unknown, and trust our own strengths. So as we move through these, this is going to try and help you focus a little bit more inward. And I love when we have the balance of looking at how can we present these type of things, but also how can we reflect on these from a more internal stance. And so that's listening to the inner voice, unlocking those truths, and cultivating a garden of courage within your heart. So with that being said, we are going to talk through for week one, what whispers of bravery echo inside you? And so, as we said, these will be 4 weeks. So, kind of come up with 4 different boxes, 4 different areas. I will include what mine looks like. And then there's going to be a lot of words on the next slide. I'm going to kick kind of the highlights, but don't worry. Once I go off camera, you'll be able to go back and read everything at your own pace. So, with that being said, what whispers of bravery echo inside of you? So I want you to close your eyes and listen to the quietest whispers within. And you can do this when we actually come off and I stop talking, because there is a voice that's soft yet persistent, calling you to step beyond what is familiar. What is this voice telling you? Is it urging you to speak your truth, take a risk, or maybe trust your instincts? So write the words or feelings that rise up, like a call from within the depths of your heart. How does it feel to hear this call, and what does it ask of you? And so, as I had said, this is what the example on the right is mine. And it's that idea of the kind of quiet bravery within. And so the first three are exactly from the prompt, but then also just the gentle reminder that this can be a personal reflection. So give yourself some care and grace. You have the entire week to go back and reflect on this. And at the same time, don't force what doesn't budge. You're allowed to take space and revisit things later. So what I looked at for that bravery echo is I definitely have two very distinct voices. One is my inner critic that has a megaphone that can be at various volumes depending on the situation. And then I do have what I call kind of my confident voice or the lack of confident voice sometimes. And that's the one that kind of grows and shrinks like Alice in Wonderland on the appropriate situation. And sometimes it can overpower the megaphone and sometimes it can't. But I really focused on that the inner voice is certainly wanting me to focus a little bit more on kind of just general relationships. And that's because I've been a little bit of a avoider in some of those things. So that's kind of where my bravery echo is that I need to kind of take a little bit more extra care and attention to actually kind of close the chapter, move the chapter, change the chapter, close the book on all of those different relationships. I feel like because, the inaction is just kind of let them fizzle. So then you're like, well, what does that mean? What does that do? And I think that's both personally and professionally, just because I get too comfortable. So those are kind of my initial thoughts on this whispers of bravery inside you. So if you would like to share in the chat, let us know. If not, you can work on this as you go. But again, we're working on week 1 of the mind map. If I need to go back to different slides, let me know. I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to play some music and we will see you soon. Welcome back. So I have a sneaking suspicion that these mind maps are definitely going to be a lot more personal, a lot more reflective, which I think is always great. And so I love how people are really leaning into this theme of brave and the real and seeing a bit of that connection between enchantment and brave. I think the themes have all been really quite connected as we've kind of moved through the month. Shocking to believe that we're at September. But I do feel like these are one of those things that there's a quote that I came across is there are some chapters that no one reads aloud. And I think that's appropriate to maybe some of these mind map questions that are coming up. And that doesn't mean that they're not important and they're not valuable. It just means that this is an opportunity to spend a little bit more time on you and kind of embrace this a bit more, which I do think is what's really special. And I think it's a slightly different kind of tone than maybe some of the other mind maps. But I absolutely highly recommend that you sit and try and be a little brave as you tackle some of these. And then maybe that next step is not only have you kind of put your thoughts on these, but to then take that next step. So you can kind of start leading those small steps of bravery into that kind of capacity to turn some of these more reflective things into actions. So thank you everybody for sharing. And so now we're going to move to that rosebud thorn, which is a wonderful reflection exercise. And so if you were with us in August, you can go back to your August journal. And on page 56, this is where that rosebud thorn reflection is. If you are ready to put August in the past or just joining us with September, you can find a blank spot to reflect on your previous week. But as the little frog over there says, we're doing our brain laundry, which is separating thoughts into lights and darks. And I love the idea of being able to kind of see your week because I'm one of those that I will fixate on either the highest of highs or the lowest of lows. That's just within nature, my particular nature. And so the opportunity to see kind of all of these pieces together, I think is really great. I think it adds a little bit more perspective, but I also think it's something that I can then kind of figure out what type of litmus test I have. Am I coming in with a good attitude this week, or am I still just throwing pity parties on my couch? And that's how I kind of been used to do that. So the rose is something that went well, a highlight, something that made you happy, made you smile, something that maybe in this case made you brave. I feel like I've realized this is actually a pretty common highlight now, it seems to be. But I went and got my haircut and colored, which is always fun. It's at the beach. So it's a little bit of a bus ride, but it's so much fun. It's nice to go to the beach for that, just like little mental reset as I walk by it. And I was able to pick up just kind of like some small seaside town things for dinner. So I got some fresh seafood for dinner, some fresh pasta to go with it. So it just becomes a nice little like treat myself event, even though it does take a while to get there. But I always feel better when I leave. And my hairstylist over here, Zara, she's wonderful. Shout out to the hairstylists that do amazing things and just make you feel better. The bud is emerging opportunity, something you're looking forward to, something that is out on the horizon that you haven't figured it out yet. Coincidentally, when it comes to the beach, I'm actually going to attend a beach bonfire with some of the girlies from the main character club, which is what I do over here. So it'll be a nice social outing. Um, some of the beach bonfire pictures, it was quite pyrotechnic-y. So hopefully we do not burn everything down, but it will be really fun. It'll be nice, relaxing, and I just feel like I get an amazing reset. I'm such a water baby. Cancer sign, the water sign. I'm an oceanography major, so you put me in front of the ocean and I'm going to walk away feeling just 10 times better. And then the thorn is something that didn't go so well, something that was maybe a little bit lower, a negative, a challenge, something that is just taking up too much time, energy, and effort on your part. Um, it's not a bad thing. I got a new credit card because it had my credit card had expired, but the frustration of updating everything. Didn't realize just how streamlined my life had been, which is amazing because past me was living vicariously through all those things. but having to update everything and then verify everything and then remember what you had to verify and remember who has what on those automatic things, it is just one of those things that it shouldn't be that hard when I'm just changing an expiration date. So that's been my thorn this week, and I think it'll continue to be my thorn into next week, especially as like first of the month comes around. So you get those like reminder emails. But that's kind of where I'm going through it at the moment. But I would love to do this weekly check-in with each and every one of you. So if you want to share in the chat your rosebud thorns, we will see you. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Please continue to share in the chat even as we move through the next prompts and next sections. This is your time to utilize as what you want. And what I do love about the Rosebud Thorn exercise is even one, just being able to spend the time to reflect on it, but then also being able to put it out into the universe and share it with the wonderful Silk and Sonder family. Just to, I always feel a little bit lighter, a little bit better, and I think it's always great. So now we are going to move into the why we are here section, those weekly pages. And so this is going to be on page 26 and 27 in your September journal. You have not received your September journal. Oh, this could be a lot of social if I can't get that out. You have not received it. You can take notes, the sticky notes on the scratch pad, all those things. But we are going to start at the top section. And I'm kind of going to combine some sections as well, just to kind of figure out how my brain works. But I always think the best way to start and approach these pages is to ask yourself, what do you need this week? Because what you need this week may look very different than what you needed last week or what you maybe need in a couple weeks from now, because those weeks are different. I know a lot of our educators can certainly reflect on that in any sort of capacity, whether at any sort of grade level. Same thing with a lot of our parents or friends and family that know school age children, college age children, all those new routines come up, and everyone's got to get back into the swing of things, as well as transitioning from the kind of warm, lazy, subtle throes of summer into August, into September, into the autumn. So sometimes what you need is exactly as written in the page, and sometimes what you need is absolutely nothing written in the page. And sometimes you just need a little bit of a break. And sometimes you just need the copy and paste of what happened last week. So starting at the top with this top of page 26 with the this week I want to feel, I use this as the motivation for my week. This is my end goal. This is my equilibrium. It is an opportunity for me to kind of take control of my week and manifest or predict, or at least have that idea of this is what I want to feel this time next week as I experience those rosebuds and thorns of the week at hand. And a couple ways that you can approach this is you can actually phrase the question. So this week I want to feel, instead maybe it's this week I want to embrace, or maybe this week I want to be brave and this is how I'm going to do it. You can kind of bring in those themes. Maybe it is just 1% better, 5% happier. Maybe you need a couple different words. So that is more the energetic, the curious, and the peaceful. Maybe it's less of something, more of something. Maybe it's your word of the year. Maybe it's your word of the week. Maybe it's last week's word. But whatever you can do to kind of ground yourself or provide that added motivation of this is kind of how I want this week to go. And then we can add in all these other pieces to it. So seeing that maybe it is creative, maybe it is a sticker. Stickers are worth their pictures. So pictures are worth 1,000 words. So maybe that is the motivation that you want to see. So if you want to put in the chat kind of some of those words of how you want to feel this week, it can be that framing thing. Or maybe if you're a little stuck, I know in our social yesterday, we had some folks that were like, well, how do I say it this way? Or how do I have a more positive version of this? So we always love that. And at the same time, they don't have to be real words. I'm a big fan of the ish. You can always add an ish to anything because I feel like sometimes that is the perfect definition of what you need. And sometimes it's also just maybe you don't know what you want to do this week. So you want to work through the pages and then come back to that. So yes, Catherine, brave-ish is where it's like you haven't quite figured out where you're going to go with it, but you know you need to start somewhere. I like awake and aware, productively thriving, excellent. And then bravely doing something Corey great. And same, Catherine. I do love when I maybe annoy English teachers. I love the idea of soul of sunshine. And yes, Michelle, excellent advice. You can always ask Jenny, who's our AI 24/7 coach. She is amazing and wonderful if you're utilizing that. Or you can always kind of go to some of the other AI generators for that type of inspiration. I also know folks that will put a bunch of those kind of thoughts, feelings, phrases there if you need some help. But being able to kind of embrace those ideas is the like foundation for where we're at. So once we've kind of established that, we can then move into our weekly major three goals. And these can be major three goals, minor three goals. These can have no number. For me, these are mental and emotional reminders for what I need to get through the week. And at the same time, I like this reminder of do things that make you happy, or do things that make you brave. And you can split those up into categories, or they can be the top three things that you need to do this week. One of the weeks I needed to focus on taxes and my passport. So while those are not fun, those were the big goals because those absolutely needed to happen. And they kind of got elevated to beyond just the to-do list to the like, oh, no, this is what you need to have happen. And sometimes that's a way to approach this. Maybe this is where you put a bingo board. Maybe you have one big goal that you want to focus on. I know Quinn is someone that is one of our regular socialers, and she puts in the chat. She had one big goal that she wanted to focus on, and that was directly connected to her to-do list. And same thing with the bottom. A lot of people will connect the to-dos and the weekly goals because they've broken it up into the different categories. And again, going back to what do I want to embrace this week? That gets carried over into the categories. Those categories then have specific to-dos to do. And so you can kind of combine all of those things together. Corey, excellent. I was always wondering who owned that. You were the, as I call it lovingly, the Silk and Sonder Tridecan, because it's all those pieces together, a lot of the tools that we find really helpful and really valuable, that I think is just a great way to connect these different sections so that you can support yourself. And then maybe instead of three major goals, maybe it's actually just two. You want to focus on some home to-dos and some work to-dos. Or I know Nicole is the bottom and left one as well with those affirmations and those ideas and the mantras, how you want to feel. So those are those reminders to help you feel the way you want to feel this time next week. And so once we have established those goals, and again, maybe they can be related to the to-do list, maybe they have absolutely nothing to do with the to-do list, because I am a to-do person. But I've had to embrace a little bit more of the Eisenhower matrix on that delegation thing. And I feel like that's another kind of small, quiet, brave thing that we do, and that's ask for help. It's acknowledging that you don't have all of the pieces, and so asking for help is always considered a brave thing. I don't care on what scale. It's one of those things, even I, as I joke with my dad, I'll call him and I'll call him hypotheticals. Because to me, calling it a hypothetical is less scary than straight up having to admit that I need help with something. So that is what we've kind of jokingly turned into it. So I am always asking him hypotheticals, which really is just, like I said, my cheeky way of admitting that I need help. And so with the Eisenhower matrix, that can be that do, decide, delegate, or delete. Delegation is huge. And I feel like that's another small step that you can kind of start taking. Same thing with I live alone, so I don't delete anything. I usually just delay it. And so sometimes it's also helping with the prioritization of the needs and the wants, or maybe the don't do this or do this instead. And you can also break that down a little bit further into the work to-dos that you need and you want, the personal to-dos that you need and you want to do. Or maybe it's a not to do. Maybe you're like, Katie, you have just absolutely spun my brain for a little bit. And you're like, I can't this week. So maybe it's a sticker. I like the roller coaster drawing that was posted there. And so I think it's one of those things that becomes this. And just because we've included a handful of new examples, you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. I am absolutely a creature of habit. So a lot of my stuff is going to look the same from week to week, which is why I do rely heavily on some of your all's examples and inspirations because I do change up the colors every now and then, but most of the content and my stuff is very much the same. So I'm going to give you some time to work on this, and we will see you soon. Okay, so moving now on to the bottom of page 26 with those habits and activities, or the habities, as Maya has referred to them. There's so much Maya lore. I always forget how much Maya lore is out there, but I love it. So the habits and activities, those are things that you want to do essentially every single day or some sort of capacity of that. So the monthly habit tracker, those are the things that I absolutely use for every single day. And again, I am a creature of habit. So this section absolutely does not change for me on a week-to-week basis. Again, if you have come to these before, you have heard me say it. My top three are to move, read, and journal. Those are three things that I do every single day, rain or shine in some capacity. And then when I've carried them over into my weekly pages, that's where I add the lens of reality. What is the weather going to be like? Because I am a pansy and I don't like to work out outside in the rain. I am a delicate flower that melts like the Wicked Witch of the West. Or to, what's my workload going to be? What's my school load? What other activities do I just have planned and scheduled? So that's kind of where do I wedge it in the margins or can I sit and add dedicated time to it? And really, a lot of it is also what's my socials, the Silk and Sonder social schedule, because that is really great dedicated time. Not only do I get to use it to prepare for these events, and that's when I really get to spend a lot of time on the prompts and those things, but also, this counts in that category because sometimes maybe this is the only time I have to journal. And so you can take these specific habits and activities that you're working on. Maybe this is where those gentle emotional and mental reminders are living. Maybe you're on vacation or your routines are a little bit out of whack. So maybe this space isn't quite for you or you want to focus on, or maybe you have slightly different self-care goals that you want to do. You can add the specific goals. You can leave them blank. You can have different goals for the days of the week, depending on the day of the week. And then again, I always like to highlight, I found this on Instagram, the 5 days to schedule every month. And I have turned those into kind of themes of the week. So last week, for me, it was a learning week because I needed to catch up on some schoolwork. I have my final assignment of that like batch due tomorrow morning. So that's kind of the last of the learning week. And so in celebration of that, I'm going to have a fun week. And so that's rewarding myself to binge one of the Netflix shows I want to see, another trivia night with my friends, ending with the bonfire. So I'm having a fun week at the start of September, which seems slightly different. But I do try to rotate these and kind of focus in on these because this has actually been a pretty helpful flow, especially between the self-care, the reset, the learning, and the fun. So I love that idea. And then you guys know, sucker for iconography, and I have completely repurposed my expense tracker as my adventure list or bucket list. And so I love these ideas, and a lot of these are things that you're kind of already doing. I mean, how many of you have already mapped out what your watch fall shows are going to be? So I love being able to celebrate those type of things, and making them sound special, turning it into, with the theme of bravery, a side quest. So for me, those side quests are really fun, but it's also stuff that I'm already doing. So I'm not necessarily adding more things. I'm actually just giving myself time to kind of celebrate those small things and making it a little bit more fun in the process. And same thing with, here's a really fun autumn self-care list that you can kind of break down. And then maybe it's the more bucket list things, but on that autumn theme. I was telling Maya I was going back and forth with whether I was ready to call it autumn because I'm definitely a summer baby, but I caved. I caved and called it that. So, give you some time to work on this and we will see you soon. Oh, the ATW, that was All Too Well, the Taylor Swift song, the full 10 minutes and watching the video. So yeah, it's the Disney and the Swifties. I just thought it was a fun little thing because I always think of Bailey when it comes to the Disney stuff. So give you a quick time to work on this and we will see you. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Yeah, like I said, I hate to see summer go, but there are so many things that I love about fall. And I grew up playing soccer, competitive soccer. And I feel like there was just that like magical moment with the fall where it's that like first Saturday where it's just the perfect temperature to play, and you just have that like Christmas to it. Like it's that's one of those, that's when it always hits me in the nostalgia of things of just doing all those things because I feel like I can't describe it, but I know exactly what that feeling is. And when I walk outside, it's that moment of like, ooh, this is that weather. And it always makes me happy. So now we're going to move on to page 27 in your September journal. And I refer to this as the B side because, again, I'm a music person. So we just completed the A side. And I know I sound like a broken record when I talk about the records. But I diligently do the first page that we just completed. That is my side A. I listen to all of those, they do all those. And then side B has some real gems that I use, but I don't use it all that often because I just found like I really wasn't finding anything that I needed. And so everything was just kind of partially done. I was never excited about it. It felt a little bit like a chore. But then I do get excited when some of those templates do come up. And let's start with the meal plan. So you can absolutely use this as designed as a meal plan, and it can be something that you plan ahead for, or something that you do in real time. Maybe this is kind of the one good thing, or just the other ways that you're going to incorporate the days on the different days. I love the one on the one with all the stickers. There's no wrong way to use stickers. They need to be used. They love it. And then again, maybe this is where you lean into more of that creative side with the daily doodles, the daily haikus, the daily affirmations. Maybe this is where you put some of your prompts, or maybe this is where you're going to kind of explore some of those ways that you were brave each day so that you can. I do feel like there's so much magic in just acknowledging what you did that day. But I absolutely have used this as a wardrobe planner and a wardrobe tracker, especially when I pack for trips, work as well as personal. I have found a great way to do that. I feel like I pack less shoes, less things that I need. So it certainly helped me in that regard. Then you have the mind body health plan, which again is something that you can plan for or that you can kind of track in real time. And it's something that you know you did for your mind, your body, and your health. They're in that type of combination. Maybe it's leaning into the alliterations. Maybe it's the theme for the day if you track the national days and those type of things. I love the power of the I feel and I need. It is such a powerful yet simplistic mental check-in because I feel like there are times where I will just kind of quickly acknowledge, like, ooh, I'm getting a little stressed and do nothing about it. Or, man, I'm really tired. I should probably put this down and go to bed. Don't acknowledge it either. So, actually writing it down, that power of pen to paper with the asking myself, how am I feeling? So, what do I need? And sometimes it really is like, I'm actually feeling really pretty good. And so then it's the what do I need? Well, maybe I need to kind of spread that little cheer along. So maybe it's messaging a friend, sending someone something fun. So I think there are good ways to acknowledge kind of the low things to help you bring yourself back, but also acknowledging some of the highs and maybe using that to kind of, I don't know, spread to your village. There's also, again, things you can continue to look forward to September. And I love acknowledging the kind of those magic things to do. Love the idea of this is a sticker that's there. So I know a lot of people have great sticker sets. Write down 3 things you like about yourself today, because I don't think we give enough compliments to ourselves. We tend to do it to everybody else. Maybe you want to embrace the 7 types of rest. And then again, I'm a sucker for iconography. So the little things that bring big joy, and like I said, it really spoke to me when it was like a good hair day. The joy that I got from getting my hair done always makes me happy. And then also acknowledging that you're not selfish for all of these things, because self-care is exactly what it is, self, and that is something that takes time and effort and energy, and you should be able to set aside time to do that. And then we've got our shopping lists, which again, hand in hand with the meal plan as ways to prep for those. So you can always work on that. And this is another one that definitely gets repurposed often. We've got our fun little bingo board. You pick the theme, and we've probably seen it, done it, lived it, loved it. The seasonal themes I think are great. If you have some milestones coming up, birthdays, anniversaries, or even just kind of celebrating the routines, getting back into it, it's a great way to gamify this. And I saw that someone in the Silk and Sonder app actually creates a large one on one of the blank pages with their significant other as a way to kind of connect. And they use different categories. So the B, the I, the N, and G, O all stand for different things. So it's kind of a really fun idea to do that. I know the I was in jest, which I thought was kind of weird initially, but then it was so clever because then the things that they do, it's like try a new restaurant, go to a favorite restaurant, try a new recipe. And I thought that was such a creative way to kind of categorize it. And I think it's super fun. And same thing with maybe it's the gentle reminders here, the stickers live here. Maybe this is your fall to-do list. I saw that someone was excited about bringing out their fall decorations. So maybe you can start introducing them slowly this way. Or again, embracing some of those glitter bingos. Maybe it's a bravery bingo, quotes, all of those fun things. So I am going to stop talking, going to play another song and let you work on all these things. So we will see you soon. Welcome back. I was going to be all on top of moving all the slides, but then I get sucked into the chat, which is also super fun. But thank you everybody for sharing. The very last section on page 26 is that I am loving, and it is your opportunity, similar to the one thing on the weekly page spread, is to acknowledge something that you like, something that's making you happy, making you smile. And I am kind of in my sassy, snarky era still. So these things make me happy. I get a kick out of seeing all those different memes on Instagram, and so I send them to all of my friends. I am that annoying person, but like I said, I get a kick out of it, and sometimes that is all that matters. But love seeing if you want to share in the chat what you are currently loving, because again, I feel like you find that instant connection and all those things. And Holly, you are right there with us. It's the we have reached the end. Can you believe it? And this one I know is a little weird. I'm still trying to work on timing because I do think the mind maps are a little bit longer, take a little bit longer, and I want to give it kind of that space. But always willing to take feedback. But we have reached the end, and you guys are amazing. As always, we would like to continue the conversation in the Silk and Sonder app. Like I said, if you all were just relying on me and my examples, they would get very redundant and very boring. So we'd love to see all of your creative ideas on there. Maya is putting the link to the recordings if you miss one, if you show up late, if you want a different facilitator's perspective, all of those things exist there. We have also officially announced our September exclusive. So the Disc Personality Type 101. Mayha is going to be leading that with Megan Maloney. Or Malone, sorry, and I will actually be stage managing that. So if you are available on the 18th of September for that exclusive, there is a fee associated with that just because it is an expert-led event. And it's really interesting to see how you work, how you function, how best to work on a team. So I think it's always one of those, the good with the strengths, the weaknesses, and everything in between based on personality. And then, as mentioned earlier, we do have Jenny. She is amazing. And if you ever have issues with Jenny's, let us know because you can email concierge@silkandsonder.com, or you can always bring it up in the chats. But she's amazing for inspiration and those things there. And we are always releasing new features and new things there. I think it's great. And then here's a copy of my playlist. I will include the link in the chat. I save all of my playlists from all of my socials, so they're broken down by month and theme. So if you need a vibe to work on and set aside, I can guarantee you they're about 30, 35 minutes. So I think it can be really helpful. And at the same time, all the songs that I am currently obsessed with, I make everybody's problem in these playlists. So thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you at a future event. In fact, Maya is hosting the monthly setup later today, and I will be sitting there. But we would love to see you. We would love to see you at future events. I know you guys are going to have an amazing rest of your day. You guys are going to have an amazing week as we embrace the new theme of bravery. So let us go bravely into the week, and we will see you again soon. Bye.
Behind every fear there's a light told. Spent most of my life trying to let